Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is not going to be an easy video to make for me, but I'm going to make it anyway. Yesterday, Friday, I watched nearly $1 million evaporate from my trading accounts in less than an hour. And it's the most violent short squeeze that I've ever been caught in with size. And it was a brutal wake-up call for risk management. So I'm gonna share some live trading footage. I took a recording of my screen so you guys can see exactly what happened and see some of the horrible mistakes that I made to lose that type of money in one day. So again, this is not an easy video to make, but I hope you guys can appreciate the transparency and benefit and learn some type of lesson from my mistakes so that you don't have to go through something like this, because it's a terrible feeling, honestly. It is not something I would wish on anyone. So the ticker was iLag. If you have Twitter, if you're on FinTwit at all, you saw probably a lot of people got smoked on this ticker. And the reason for that is that it was just insanely crowded on the short side. And when you get too many people in any trade where they're all on the same side of the trade, they all tend to lose money. Whether that's trading the overall markets in SPY or whatever. Too many people are buying, it's a bad buy. Too many people are short selling, it's a bad short. And this was just one of those cases. So I gotta tell you the backstory, and then I'm gonna dive into the live trading footage, and then after that I'm gonna go into what I plan on doing in the future to avoid having something like this happen again. So feel free to skip around. I'm gonna put bookmarks in the bottom so you guys can skip to whatever you wanna watch. So to set the background for this, we've had a couple really nice liquidation plays, over the past month. And none of them have been really tricky at all or really crowded. We had PBTS, you can see here's the chart. It dumped, came back up, but never really ripped over high a day. And then they just started liquidating, and this thing could not bounce at all until it finally, made a tiny bounce. But I mean, unless you're shorting dead bottom, you're not gonna lose much on a chart like this if you're shorting. So super clean. Unfortunately, I didn't catch this with any size, which was frustrating because it was a super clean chart. Then we had LGHL. This one I caught with 50,000 shares. But again, for me, that's not really big size at all. I'm used to making, multi six figures on these types of setups. So I only made 40,000 with my 50,000 shares from two. I covered, average of 120 or something. And it was a great chart, very easy, never broke high a day and squeezed a ton. And even though I thought it was crowded, it pretty much just went straight down. So, that's two in a row where it's pretty easy, and you have me and probably other people wishing they sized up bigger on this. Then you get JWEL, and this is another pretty similar one where it has some volume, it pushes out of the gate. Once it has this big dump, they repump a little bit to sell more shares, but it never breaks high a day, never squeezes, and it's pretty clean. If you recognize, take a position here, you can proactively cover some down here, you get a nice reshort opportunity, and it never bounces, man. It stuffs here, never makes a higher high, and just fades off. So that's 3 in a row that were super clean. And this one, I didn't get really any size on. I think I only made like 12,000 on this one or something like that. So again, for me, it's not a great win. And you have me wishing that I had more size on this. So I'm thinking, all right, I thought these short plays were crowded, but apparently not. I'm gonna take more size on the next one. I took this one, this was my first decent win. I think I made 94,000 that day with, a smaller account. So the fact that my account is so much bigger now, and I'm making 12,000 on something like this, where you still get a nice run up, and there was definitely liquidity to take more size. It's frustrating for me. Something you do have to keep in mind is that in this market, it's been especially crowded to be a short seller. A lot of people, I think, made money going on the long side and didn't know anything about shorting 2020 and 2021, but you kind of had to adapt into the end of 2021 and especially 2022. There's been, I feel like, more opportunities on the short side. And because of that, most of the profitable retail traders at this point are short sellers. So anyone who's still around and who made a bunch of money and is trading with big size, I would say the majority of them, at least who are super active, are short sellers. So when you get everyone looking at the same ticker and everyone on the same side, it has been very crowded, and stuff just doesn't die a lot of times like it used to. You know, you get examples like FNGR. This thing just kept coming back. You take a look at a chart like this and you're thinking, oh my God, I mean, this thing should be dead. It should go back to $3 instantly, but instead keeps trapping short sellers and it grinds back up. Now we finally had a red day, but I mean, I lost some money in this price action. So again, you just got to remember the overall market climate. iLag was no different, man. And yeah, that's pretty much what happened in terms of the market climate. So, you know, if I show you the actual chart, here's what it looks like. I was expecting it to have some type of squeeze out because I'm thinking, all right, man, it's probably gonna be crowded. The last few have been somewhat easy. So I think, you know, this could probably squeeze to like $6.50 or something. On this day here, they were dumping some at like $20 and it squeezed up to like 26. So, you know, 30% squeeze from six. I mean, you know, they dump at 5 and it squeezed to 650. So I was like kind of imagining in my head that was something that I could expect. That was within my parameters. I also went into Friday willing to risk $200,000, which is, I mean, that's big risk, but if you get a great setup and you swing harder, you know, you risk $200,000 and you can potentially make $500,000 or $600,000. So it can be worth it when the perfect setup is there. Unfortunately, this was not the perfect setup, and I displayed just a complete utter lack of risk management, which can literally end your career in one trade. So I'm grateful I escaped with what I ended up escaping with. But anyways, I think that's pretty much all the background you guys need. Show you guys the chart. So without further ado, let's dive right into the live trading footage, man. So I put some bookmarks in here just because it's like a 6-hour recording, just so you guys can see. All right. So this is like pre-market. I was swinging some short because SSR was not on. It did not trigger the previous day. And typically for these dumps, they want to trigger SSR so that shorts can't just take the people they're selling into. So I was assuming it was going to have SSR. So my goal was, you know, I'm going to swing some short and I'm going to cover when SSR triggers. That was my plan. So you can see here, you know, it triggers, they dump it. This is a few minutes after market open. You can see the clock here. And I go and I cover everything that I have. You know, I cover right here, right at the SSR trigger around 475 area. It's not a great win. I mean, it's not enormous, but, you know, I made, I think, $7,000 on that, and that's decent. Unfortunately, you know, it continued a little bit lower, and this is where I start feeling the FOMO, because I'm thinking, all right, well, I just threw away my shares I had from a 5+ average. What if this thing ends up dying and going to $2 today? You know, 5 to 2 with 20,000 shares. That's a $60,000 win. So if it goes straight down, you know, I'm not going to really take advantage of that because I already covered. And, you know, I'm feeling a little bit of FOMO, but it's also very early in the day, and I'm pretty convicted that they're going to bring this thing back and play some games with it at least. So much so that, you know, if I skip forward a little bit here, I actually end up taking a long on this thing because I'm thinking, all right, you know, it's still not late enough in the day. I don't think they've dumped enough shares. So I'm long. You know, I long 5,000 shares there. And again, that's not a huge long by any means. But I was so convicted in this thing squeezing back over high a day that I was like, all right, I'm gonna take some long into these flushes, even though ultimately I think this thing is going to $2 today. So, you know, I'm long this thing. Unfortunately, I end up selling that way too early because it's kind of staying heavy, and, you know, I guess I was scared of getting caught in a down halt or something like that. And it didn't immediately rip straight up. Like, it tried to go and then it stuffed. So I guess that's part of it. But I ended up selling that pretty pathetically. I think only like a $900 gain or something like that, which you'll see in just a second here. And I'm trying to, in this recording, balance letting the footage run, but also not, you know, taking up too much of your guys' time because it is a very long recording. So I'm just trying to show like a minute or two of footage on each of these bookmarks. Yeah, so it starts stuffing there, you know, I get rid of it, and then it ends up ripping, I believe, into an up halt a little bit later. I relong a few, but only 500 shares, that's all I fill. And, you know, that's all I have there. And it rips right back up. And so at this point, my plan is to see if it can do that high day squeeze, but I want to get a starter because I'm very worried at this point that like I'm going to miss the dump. And so I want to have at least something from that 5 range. And I'm kind of thinking I'm going to risk like the 750 area. That's what I had in my head. If I go to the daily chart real quick, just so you guys can see, it had this, you know, this 86 million volume day here, and it wicked out at 728. So I'm thinking, all right, probably worst case scenario on this thing, they're going to break that by a little bit, fake people out, and, you know, it's going to die. So I'm risking, in my head, I think I'm risking 750. That's like the area that I had in mind for worst case scenario if they squeeze this thing. But I think, you know, 650 is more likely. So I want to add at 650, but not really hold it if it's ripping over 750. That's kind of what I was thinking. That was my plan. Anyways, let's get back to the footage. So at this point, you know, I'm trying to fill some on resumption, and I end up not filling. I don't know why, but I was trying to get just a few up here, just in case it went straight down. Again, I think there's still going to be a squeeze out, but I want to have something in case it dumps. I think part of it was some of my friends, they already had some decent size, and I had a little bit of FOMO about missing that downside. So I'll go to my first short here, so you guys can see. So it reopens. I don't feel anything on those 518 shares. So I end up shorting some when it stays heavy, because I'm thinking, all right, man, it just failed to go red-green. They keep stuffing it here. Maybe it doesn't go. You know, maybe my original thesis is going to be wrong. Maybe it's not going to squeeze out over high a day. Maybe it's not as crowded as I thought it was. Unfortunately, I was very, very wrong about that, as you will soon see. So I end up shorting some. I end up chasing some here. I think I get about, I believe it's like 29,000 shares or something. And you can see, you know, there's some serious selling going on here. But you can also see on the ask, like, there's a lot of shorts. SSR zones, you can see, you know, when the ask, the big ask follows every penny. Like, those are all just shorts, market shorting or shorting well below the bid, trying to get in at any cost, including myself. So you can see I just filled 29,000 short there. And I have a 450 average, which is not great, but, you know, if this thing goes straight down, I got 30,000 shares from 450, and that's still decent money at $2. You know, it's not incredible money, but it's still pretty decent money. So you can see here, I'm gonna go to the hammer short section. It reopens, and they got a lot of bids stacked, and you know, the selling continues, the volume continues, the liquidation continues. You can see, I mean, look at those bids, man. There's a lot of liquidation going on here. This print is pretty insane. It's pretty heavy. And it gets even crazier. So I just start spamming that short button, bro. I'm shorting up the wazoo. So I just filled another 40,000 short. And I'm like, nah, maybe I should wait. But then the selling continues. I'm like, all right, it's about to crack low a day, and this thing's gonna be at $3 in, you know, 10 minutes from now. So I end up adding even more. Tries to bounce, can't really bounce there, so I add even more. And I think my brain, this is part of where my brain just kind of turned off. I don't know if it's greed or just not really being aware of the sizing that I had, because, you know, based on that risk level that I came in with, I want to lose max 200,000. Worst case, I'm cutting at 750. Like, I have 80,000 shares here and 30,000 shares here. So that's 110,000 shares from like a 440 average. So if this thing is at 750, bro, I mean, even not including slippage, see, I could cut right at 750. That's already a $300,000 loss. So I'm already in way too big. And when this thing does not immediately die, I should be sizing down. I should be sizing down at least until it breaks those levels there. But instead, I give it a second to see what it does. I'm like, I don't want to get faked out. I'm just going to let it chill. I'm going to let it chill and see if it ends up fading back off and that selling comes back in. Also, you know, with the size that I have, it reaches a certain point where, like, once it gets over those levels, if I slap, the spread, it gets pretty bad, man. And with SSR on, it's hard to fill size. So if I end up slapping the ask with 20,000 or 30,000 or 40,000 shares, I'm not going to be able to get back in very easily. Like, there's a good amount of slippage there. I might cover at 470 or 4. I think when it rehalts, you'll see, or I guess when it reopens. So let me go there. Halt one open. So it's reopened here. And you can see, man, I'm already down pretty decently. I'm down like over 50,000 unrealized. And I could have taken some off here. You know, it tries to break out. And I'm giving it like a little bit more time. I'm thinking, all right, you know, they've stuffed it at that same level. It hasn't broken red-green. They'll probably stuff it again. And it looks like it stuffs there. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, maybe I'll be all right. Yeah, it sucks. I'm thinking about, wow, I mean, I could have had an average, a whole dollar a share better. That really stings. But, you know, it is what it is now. I guess I just got to hold. If this goes to $2, I'll still be looking good at the end of the day. So yeah, I mean, I had some time to downsize here. I just chose not to, which is unfortunate, man, because they soaked a lot of shorts down there. A lot of people hammered a lot of size, not just myself. A lot of people made that mistake, and you can see the spread here. I mean, the spread is nasty. It's like a 30-cent spread. So if I'm slapping the ask and it, you know, takes another 20 cents and then I'm trying to get back in, I mean, I could lose 70 cents plus on slippage. And then you can see here, you know, once it breaks that red-green level, everyone's trying to stop out. The veteran traders, I saw some great charts like Stan, you know, he stopped out right at that level. And I think a lot of other people did as well. I should have stopped out there, or at least downsized. And then you'll see once this reopens, I do have one more chance really to get out before it turns absolutely ridiculously bad. Now, I just want to show you guys something that just happened because it's honestly key. Instead of covering any part of my short there, I cover my unrealized losses because it is making me literally sick to my stomach to look at. I'm going to say that again. Instead of covering my short, I cover my unrealized losses. Instead of covering, I cover. I'm going to go back and rewind just so you guys can see that. I literally, once it goes into this halt, I take this thing, I drag this tab over so I can't even see my unrealized. Because at this point, what is it? At this point, it's like, it's already over the 200,000 mark. This is already more than I wanted to lose on the day, and I can't even believe it. And that just, it makes me freeze, man. And it's bad. It's really bad. So yeah, I cover the freaking unrealized and decide to just ignore it because that's obviously the right solution. So I'm just going to skip through these halts, man. But the second halt opens and I have about 5 seconds where I could have slapped the ask and gotten out before it goes to the next up halt. You know, if I had market bought there, I could have. You see my fingers on the trigger. I could have taken off 20,000 shares or clicked it twice and probably taken off 40,000 shares. But did I? No, I waited to see what it did. And at that point, it was too late. And, you know, I can't risk that 750 area with the size that I had from the average that I had, bro. I can't do it. Halt 3 open. Just a very similar thing, man. I think this one was even faster, though. I mean, it doesn't give you time to think. It just rips straight into that up halt. So, I mean, I'm just screwed, you know, at this point. I barely rip it off, just so you can see in the recording, because I know I'm recording, but I don't have the stomach to stare that in the face, to accept the mistake that I was making. I didn't try to take any off at this point. I literally just sit and I watch. Here you can see the next halt. Boom. Straight into the next up halt. If you hesitate for half a second, you're not getting anything out. And I mean, I'm down over $500,000 at this point. I'm down like $570,000, which is already the biggest loss, you know, I ever would have taken in my career if I took it right here. At this point, I try to get out on resumption. For whatever reason, you can see my order, I have a limit for 11. It's indicating 10:55, so I feel like it should work, but it auto cancels on open. You can see it canceled my buy. I don't know why it did that. Otherwise, I probably would have filled at that 1050 area. But I don't fill. And so I'm thinking, all right, well, I want to at least try to get out of some. And in my head, I was thinking I'm going to get out of just 40,000. I'm going to downsize so that I can, ride out a little bit more and potentially get out of this alive. Again, I should have been all out at this point, but that's what my brain was thinking. But I end up instead hovering over my flatten button. Flatten means like get to zero position, long or short, just no position at all. and I end up clicking it. So my account, they actually thought that I got liquidated by their liquidation parameters because I drew down to the 30% level. I thought it was 850 account. It was actually like 835, and I was down 590. So you do the math on it, on an $835,000 account, only 30% left. If you have a 70% drawdown, it's like 580,000 or something. So at this point, I should have been triggered out by them, but I end up actually pulling the trigger. You can see I clicked that flatten button right there. And I tried to cancel it, but it was too late at that point. And I'm like, really? I just covered literally dead top, realized a $590,000 loss. That really sucks. Is this just going to go straight down now at this point? That's what I was worried about. You can see it tries to down halt, but it can't, and it ends up going into another up halt. It's pretty crazy, man. Crazy tape, crazy volume. And it's different from ATXG and stuff like that because it actually has liquidity. You know, there's actually pretty insane liquidity. At this point, the dollar volume on the day is 67 million. But by the end of the day, it had $250 million volume, like a $250 million volume, which is pretty decent liquidity, honestly. Like, that's not terrible liquidity. So you can see at this point, you know, that halt opens, I'm down another like 260,000. So you add that up, that's like $850,000 that I'm down at the top there. And that's, you know, the million mark. I wasn't actually down a million. I just wanted to clickbait you guys for YouTube. I was only down 850,000. So my bad. You can feel free to give this video a dislike if you want for my clickbait. But yeah, at that point, you know, the top is in and the promoters start to liquidate. I think if not for that, this thing probably would have continued higher, but they finally decide to liquidate after trapping shorts. And I think they were going to sell at the $4 range, and they're like, well, we can sell it, you know, 10, 9, 8, 7, and make double the profit. So why not, man? And that's what they did. And, you know, if I go down a little bit more, you can see this thing, it stays heavy. So I end up actually, when it tries to rebound, I cover 20,000 in my Cobra, realize 100K loss. But then I end up reshorting, and I just add all the way back down on the backside. And we don't need these bookmarks anymore. But, you know, if I end up dragging this, just so you can see, I do re-hit some in my other account, in my Guardian. I'm not sure why, actually. I was allowed to do that after I, you know, hit that liquidation point of the 30%. But for whatever reason, they let me reshort some, which was nice because, you know, by the end of the day, this thing ends up fading off, stays super heavy. You can see I just keep adding on the backside, and it goes lower and lower. I can't add more on Guardian because I don't have any more buying power. I had like negative 400,000 buying power. So again, I don't know how they let me do that. But this thing fades pretty much all the way down to right at low a day, and then it seems like at that point they stop selling. So, you know, I wish I was a little more proactive in my covers here, but I thought, you know, maybe this thing just goes straight down to 2 at this point since the top was in and the selling was over. So if it had done that, and I would have kept adding, especially under low a day. So I honestly could have gotten out break even if it had gone straight to 2, but it wasn't meant to be, and it's probably better this way because I end up learning the lesson that I need to learn. And, you know, after that point, I think still a lot of shorts are trapped from a bad average. The shorts from a good average cover, the promoter stops selling, so this thing actually turns into a mini short squeeze, starts uptrending, and you know, eventually squeezes out. And yeah, it gets pretty tricky towards the end of the day there. And I end up just covering everything that I have. Top ends up dumping later on as well. Unfortunately, I took off all my size right before it cracked 9 because I thought it might squeeze, and then they just liquidate to 5 in like a couple minutes. So I was able to make another like 20,000 bucks there. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it in terms of the live trading footage. So, you know, hopefully you can see what a terrible position this was. And I think the reason that this happened was because I sized too big, I froze, and I thought I was above having those broker level stops in. So that's something you can do if you have a premium brokerage like Guardian or Cobra or Speed Trader or Centerpoint or any of those. You can talk to the brokerage and say, hey, you know, if I'm ever down 50K on a position, I want you to get me out of there. You know, to just automatically liquidate me, because that takes it out of your hands. I thought I was above that. You know, I liked having a large account, you know, $1 million account, whatever, and being able to have the wiggle room where, all right, you know, I don't want to lose more than 100K on this play, but if I draw down 300 and, you know, whatever, I'm able to endure the squeeze, and it comes back down, and I make it out alive, and, you know, maybe I end up making money on it. I like that flexibility, but I realize now that it's not worth it, because you might get out of 10 of those situations and make, you know, 50K or 100K where you were down 300K. But at some point, it's just going to keep going. You're sized in too big, and you lose your entire account. And that could have been me on both of my accounts, on all my accounts. And I'm just very grateful that it stopped going up at 12 and that I was able to get out, you know, for what I did. By the end of the day, I was able to make some back, and I only ended the day down 409,000. So, I mean, all in all, it could have been much worse. So moving forward, guys, what is my plan? My plan is to wire out a lot of money. I'm going to wire out, I think, I have to do the math. I'm not 100% positive, but I think around like $700,000. And I'm probably just going to trade with two $250,000 accounts. And in each of those accounts, ideally what I want to do is I want to have a $40,000 like broker level stop. My goal will not be to have that ever be hit, but as a last resort, you know, if I'm not getting out of the position when I need to, that's what I want to have happen. I want them to take me out. But then I want to give myself a second chance, because a lot of times it's just that I'm in a trance and I can't cut it. But, you know, once I'm out of the position, I can think more clearly and get back in. So I want to have a second max stop, call it, of $20,000. So if I hit my first max stop of $40,000, I can get back in, but only after I wait at least 5 minutes, and I'm gonna have a $20,000 max stop after that for the rest of the day. And if I hit that, I'm completely done. So hopefully in a situation like ILAC, you know, that would mean I get stopped out very early, and then the squeeze happens. I can't get in for another 5 minutes. At that point, I'm like, all right, you know, it's still squeezing. I should probably wait. And then I'm patient for backside. Maybe I hit some, but I take small size, and then as it keeps going down and staying heavy, I can add on the backside and end up making a lot more, you know, when it goes down. Because really the worst time that I get squeezed is when you have these parabolic runners, because on the short side, the issue is you're always right. This is a terrible company that is going to have its stock price below $2 in the very near future. Of that, I am positive. But if your timing is off, you get screwed. So for that reason, it's so much easier to be stubborn on the short side, because you know you're right. You're always right. It's just the timing. So I'm going to put in those two things. I'm also going to take some time. If you're in my Discord, I'm going to learn how to trade large caps. And I'm going to take 10 shares, max size, for the next month. So if you're in my Discord and you've been watching Tran, shout out to Tran, man. He's been killing it on those large caps. I'm gonna learn that strategy, and you know, I think it'll be a good stretch for me to go back to really sizing down on the new setup. So yeah, that's my takeaway, guys. If you have, you know, any other thoughts on what happened today or what I can do moving forward, or you have any thoughts on, you know, my new risk management, broker level stop, any of those things, definitely let me know down in a comment below. If you want to say you have no risk management, go ahead and say that as well, because, you know, I think I proved that I really need to work on that with what happened on Friday. So go ahead and roast me. Hope you appreciate this video. Hope it helps you learn and not make the same mistake. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, you know the drill. Let's grow better together. Bebé, dime por qué te mientes. No puedes esconder todo lo que tú por mí sientes.